Hello everyone, welcome to Zoom Yoga number 33. Namaste. So as always, I'll start with the quote. It's a very simple one today. You get what you settle for. You get what you settle for. So if you'd like to lie down in Shavasana, we'll go back to basics and do the simple three-part yogic breath. So to settle down, floppy feet, palms facing upwards, a slight distance away from the torso. Just adjust your shoulders, lift up your left shoulder and roll it down. Lift up the right, ease it back down. Check that your chin is not painting the ceiling. And gently take your lower back and compress it onto the ground and let it spring back to its natural position. So that gentle, that small space you've got in your lower back, that curvature, just flatten it onto the ground and release. Once more. So as I said, we're going to go back to basics. I do this quite often myself as well, and we're going to break down the yogic breath into the three parts. So we take our left hand and just place it on our abdomen. Place it on top of your belly button. And this is all we're going to focus on. As we inhale, we're going to inflate the abdomen like a balloon. Nothing else. We're not taking in the full deep breath. We're just inflating the abdomen like a balloon. Wait for your natural pause. And exhale out. Inhale, inflate. We're not taking the breath into the rib cage. Wait for your pause. Exhale, release. Everything else is totally relaxed. The abdomen is inflating like a balloon. Wait for the natural pause. Exhale. The diaphragm is pushing down, causing a distension of the abdominal organs, which causes the abdomen to inflate. You're just filling up the lower lobes of the lungs. Now we take our awareness away from the abdomen and we press our fingers gently touching in our rib cage. So both our hands are on the rib cage, flat, and the fingers are just touching. The tips of the fingers are touching. We forget about the abdomen, and as we inhale, we're trying to expand the rib cage. So you're trying to stretch those intercostal muscles, external and internal. So as we inhale, you're exaggerating the movement, and you can feel that stretch coming through the muscles. And the fingers will create a slight space if you're lucky. And then as you exhale, they'll come back and the fingertips will touch. So if there's any confusion with this, just stop the video and have a wee look. As we just inhale, you can feel that stretching of the muscles between the ribs. So you're not raising the abdomen, you're just focused on the rib cage. And don't strain doing this. I know people who've pulled muscles doing this, they're too eager, they're stretching and straining. Remember, it takes 6 seconds for the muscles to start to get used to what you're doing. And I think you'll find now that that slight tightness that you felt at the beginning is probably slackening off now. And perhaps you're getting a greater space between your fingertips. A few more of these. It's good to bring the awareness back to the basics. Now we'll leave the rib cage and we'll take our right hand and just place it on our sternum, just our upper chest. I'm trying to avoid my microphone. And you're just going to take in a puff of air. This is the final part of the yogic breath. Just enough to slightly raise the clavicle area. So the abdomen is not rising, the rib cage is not expanding. It's just a puff of air, a shallow, shallow breath. And this is the final part of the yogic breath to fill up the lungs. So then back in your Shavasana position with your palms upwards down the side of the body. And we do the full yogic breath. So we inhale as the abdomen inflates. And the breath fills up the lungs, the rib cage expands. And then you get a final puff of air in the top. You wait for your natural pause, said to be the seed of meditation. And then you relax and release as you exhale. Because this is your simple yogic breath. So whenever possible, you try and do this breath. But of course, breathing is an involuntary process, obviously. But anytime you can take conscious control and instill good practice. Slow, smooth, and deep, in a relaxed manner. Wait for your pause. And slowly exhale. So anytime you're tired and you don't feel the need for physical posture, you can lie in Shavasana and just breathe slowly and deeply. Remember, I've mentioned many times before, 70% of metabolic waste is released through the lungs. So you're cleansing your body from a cellular level upwards just by lying flat and breathing. 70%. The other 30% is urine, sweat, and feces. Okay, so now we can introduce the anal lock. We've done this many times. So it's a bandha, it's a lock. We're going to tighten the sphincter. As we inhale, we contract the muscle in the anus, but at the same time, you're trying to keep your stomach muscles relaxed. It's a bit tricky and it takes a bit of practice. Because if you tighten everything too much, then you won't allow the abdomen to inflate like a balloon. You're putting on Mula Bandha, a slight tightening of the sphincter, but you're still allowing the abdomen to inflate. And then the breath fills up the lungs, the rib cage expands. And then you release your lock as you exhale and you pull the abdomen back towards the spine. And again, when you're pulling the abdomen back towards the spine, you feel a tightening of the abdominal muscles. And then you relax. You can take a comfort breath without the lock and stomach retraction. And then you start again. Inhale as you apply the lock. Inflate the abdomen, expand the rib cage, fill up the lungs. Wait for your natural pause. Everything else is relaxed in the body, remember. And then you release the lock, allow the breath be released. And then you help to clear out the stale air in the lower lobes of the lungs by pulling the stomach back towards the spine. And you can feel all the structures tightening doing this as well. So this is a very good exercise for cleansing. If you have any problems with hemorrhoids, any problem with female plumbing, male plumbing, prostate, any of these situations are greatly improved by this exercise. This can be quite tiring if you're not used to doing it, because you're using a lot of muscles here, and there's a lot of concentration as well. So the anal lock, Mula Bandha, stomach retraction, and you can add another feature if you wish, Uddiyana Bandha, where you pull the stomach muscles up behind the rib cage. So it's stronger again. So try that. So you inhale, you apply the anal lock, inflate the abdomen, expand the rib cage, puff of air up to the top. You're still holding the lock. You release the anal lock as you exhale. Gently pull back with abdominal muscles. And when the back is comfortably as far as you can, then if there's anything left, you pull them up behind the rib cage. Again, it's quite strong. You do this every day for a few weeks and you see what happens to your abdominal area. See what happens to your energy. I know I keep repeating myself, but anal lock, inflate the stomach, expand the rib cage, fill up the lungs, wait for the natural pause, release the lock, exhale, gently pull back the stomach, and Uddiyana Bandha, pull it up behind the rib cage. Gently. And then you take a comfort breath in between all of this. Or you stop and you take 3 normal breaths. You decide when you've had too much. So this is something for you to play about with in your own time. And it's all in the yoga book that I've sent to most of you. So relax all efforts and let the body breathe naturally. Give it a chance to recalibrate. And we're going to do the figure of 8 with the arms and the legs. So we'll start with the right arm as we raise it up, point the index finger. And we're just going to inhale in the upward movement as we start with a small figure of 8. Exhale in the downward. So we start with the smallest 8 you can manage. Inhale in the upward movement of the 8. Exhale in the downward. And then you're slowly expanding the size of the 8. You can be as artistic as you wish with this 8. You're sweeping your arm right up beyond your head, stretching gently up as you're getting that slow, smooth, deep yogic breath in. You can take it across your body, and then you exhale as you sweep down. And point right down, so you're getting a lovely gentle stretch on the shoulders. So you're going from the smallest 8 up to the largest you can manage, nice and slow. You'll hear a bit of snap, crackle, and bop. The slower you do this, the better, but you keep in line with the breath. The smallest 8 to the largest 8, and then back to the smallest. You can give your 8 a color. If you want to really occupy your mind, you can have a different color at the top to the bottom. It's your 8. Do as you wish with it. And then just start to reduce the size of the 8. So we're cleansing the body from a cellular level. We're using minimum energy, and we're occupying the mind. When you're ready, change arm, the left arm. Start with a small 8. Inhale in the upward movement. Exhale in the downward. Slowly increasing the size. Slow, deep yogic breath. So you're not being passive with this movement, you're still getting a very good stretch. Now start to reduce the size of the 8. To the smallest 8 you can manage. And then in your own time, move to the right leg. The same procedure. Slightly heavier limb. But we inhale on the upward movement. Exhale on the downward. You're just trying to keep your legs straight. It doesn't matter the size of the 8. Palms down the side of the body for support. You can feel what it does for the lower back, this. And be careful you don't strain anything in the groin area, so take it nice and easy. Just keep the legs straight. You'll get the benefit of a stretch of a hamstring and a build-up of the muscles, lifting the weight of the limb. nice and slowly. And when you've had enough of that, you change leg. Inhale in the upward movement. Exhale in the downward. Again, you can sweep your leg out as far as you wish to the side, as long as you keep it straight. And then slowly reduce the size of your ape, which you'll find is a little bit more challenging. Lower down, have a few comfort breaths. And then we're going to roll on our left side. We're going to come up on our side. And we're just going to do leg forward and back and leg lifts. So we have our left arm under our shoulder. We have our feet at right angles to the legs, which helps us to balance. And you can use your right hand as well for balance. We inhale, exhale as we take the right leg forward. And you're not leaning back as you're doing this, you're trying to keep your base position. Inhale back, exhale back to the other side. I get minimal movement in this one, but again, you're not leaning forward so you can get the leg back. You're trying to keep your base position as still as possible. Inhale to neutral, exhale forward. You get a lovely stretch through the gluteals, through the hamstrings. Inhale to neutral, exhale back. Depending on what your activities are, I get minimal movement going back, but I'm okay coming forward. Don't worry about how far you get forward or back. Be more concerned about not leaning forward and back with the torso. It's a wonderful stretch. When you feel you've had enough of that, we'll just do the leg lift. So we inhale. You can do this dynamically up and down, or you can lift it up and hold it. Inhale, lift up. I like to hold. But you inhale as you lift up. You can exhale, lower down, or you can stay in the position and take a few breaths. Try to keep your feet parallel. Don't point the toes up. Once you lower, you can take a few comfort breaths and repeat. Of course, we're going to change sides now. So get your position, elbow under the, you can actually lean further down and you can put your hand on your head, but this is the easiest way I'm doing it at the moment. And you can point your toes straight ahead as well, which means you build up the balance of the body, and you put your left hand on your thigh. But we'll keep it nice and simple. Toes pointing forward, so the ankles are at right angles. And we'll just continue the same process. Inhale, exhale as we come forward with the left leg. Of course, you'll find that one side is always easier than the other. Full yogic breath. And just try to prevent your body from leaning forward or leaning back. You'll lose the stretch. And then leg lift. So again, you have the option of inhaling, lifting up, exhaling, lowering down, or inhaling, lifting up, and keeping it there for a few breaths. And then lie down in Shavasana. Palms facing upwards, floppy feet. Take a few simple, full yogic breaths. No need for the bandhas. Now take your hands, place them down the side of the body, palms downwards. We're going to do the simple boats. So we're not lifting the limbs, we're just inhaling and stretching forward with the hands and pointing with the toes. So the limbs may come off the ground, but we're not trying to lift them off. So we're just inhaling and stretching forward with the hands, pointing with the toes, you're contracting everything and softening. That's all we're doing. We're not lifting at all. It's a lovely stretch. And everything's supported. Full yogic breath. As you stretch through, hold the stretch for your natural pause. Exhale, relax. You know what's coming now? We're going to lift, not if you've lower back problems. If you've lower back problems, don't lift the legs off the ground. But we're going to lift the hands and legs off the ground. The legs just far enough so the calf muscles clear the mat. So we're going to inhale as we lift up our chin, look towards our toes. Hands come up to the side of the thighs.
and the feet are just off far enough to clear the calf muscles from the ground. Again, you can come up and down with each breath, or you can inhale, stay up for a few breaths, and then lower down. But remember, as you're lowering down, keep your class. You don't go down with a thump. You keep enough energy to lower the body down gently. So the book suggests you do 10 of these. That's a lot, but it's up to you. 3, 5, 8, 10. Inhale, and up we come. Do not lift the legs if you've lower back problems. And this is a great way to build up the abdominal muscles, where you can feel which muscles are taking part in this. So you can continue at this level, or if you want to make it more strenuous, then you come up with clenched fists, clenched face, and you clench everything. So you inhale. This is one of the few postures I say scrunch up your face. Inhale, fists, face, contract everything. As you come up and hold, really contract. It's a big energy burner, but it releases so much tension. And then relax and release as you lower down. So we'll do a few more of these in your own time. You can take a few comfort breaths in between because they're very strong. Inhale, fists, face, up you come, contract. There are a group of bodybuilders who build up their body just by contracting the muscles. They don't lift any weights. They just take their mind around different muscles and start to contract and release and build them up this way. Last one. And I think you know what's coming next, the balancing boat. So only try this if your abdominals are up to speed. So we just lift the legs up higher and the hands higher until you're in a balancing position with the hands next to the knees. So we inhale, we look towards the toes, we lift the legs up higher, and we come up to the hands in line with the knees, the balancing boat. If you're having to struggle to get up and moan and groan and your legs are shaking, this isn't for you yet, because from the balancing boat, we then just tip forward into a sitting position. Don't worry if it's not for you yet, it will come. Another way to get up is to slip your hands behind your lower back and gently push up. Right, I think we did threading the needle last week. We're going to do it again, but we're going to hold for 6 seconds, because remember, I'm always saying 6 seconds it takes for muscles, tendons, ligaments to come in line. So we're only going to lift the right arm to the first point of resistance. Now this is important, because if you push too far with this and hold for 6 seconds, you'll likely pull a muscle. So we're going to thread the needle. So we're just going to inhale, raise the right arm. So we don't want to come away up aggressively like this because it's too strong. And if you try and hold that, you will just start to shake. So take it up to the first point of resistance and then start to breathe. So right arm up. If you can hold for 6 breaths, that's great. If you find that it's too much, you just come out of it and you thread the needle. So what you'll find is, by coming up to the first point of resistance, as you breathe, then it allows you more movement. If you come up and push to the extreme with the first movement, you're shutting the body down. After your 6 breaths, you come down, through with the right arm. You can rest on the elbow, or you come right through and rest on the shoulder if you have the flexibility. And now we're up in this position with the left arm. 6 breaths. So we're not aggressively pushing back, twisting the body. We're just coming up to the first point of something's happening. and then we relax into it. We enjoy the process. You protect the body, you relax the mind, and you get the benefits. As opposed to twisting the face and pushing into the posture. After your 6 breaths, you come out. Gently push up. And we'll lift the left arm up. Realign your position. And we come up with the left arm. Again, this is my first point of resistance, but if I push, I can come away up like this. But it's very uncomfortable, so I wait here and I start to breathe. And then you get the movement with the breath. And then you come down and through. Thread the needle, rest on the elbow or the shoulder. And then we're up with the right arm. 6 breaths. Come up into neutral. Sit back on the heels. Stretch the arms. I'm always aware I'm roaring into the microphone in this position, so I'll remain quiet for a few breaths. You're walking through with your fingers, stretching the arms and then softening down through the lower back. And then if you feel like it, we're going to come up into downward facing dog. So we come forward back into the all fours, tuck our toes underneath, and we just lift up. Doesn't matter if your heels get on the ground or not. Some days they will, some days they won't. Sorry, I'm going to adjust this top for the microphone. And we're inhaling, we're pushing up through the torso, lifting up through the hips, softening down through the heels. Inhale, push up through the arms, lift up through the hips, soften down through the heels. Again, it's up to you how long you stay in this position. If you want to build up the strength in the arms, stretch in the back, you can apply a little bit of a drop of each knee to stretch the calf, opposite calf muscle. But try and keep the bottom up. So if you bend, obviously, the right knee, you get a stretch through the left calf. But try to keep the class of the position. And only if you want to, you can come out of this and stretch through your hands again. If your arms are tired, you can sit back on your heels, or you can come up on your toes. You come down, through and up. Don't close the shoulders. Keep the shoulders open. Keep the torso off the ground. And then inhale back up. So we're going to do a few of these. Inhale, stretch up through the arms, lift up through the hips, soften through the heels. And then come up on the toes, forward, through, and up. Relax the shoulders. The shoulders are not scrunched up at the ears. Everything's relaxed. And your arms are acting as your post.
You're on your toes. It's quite a strong one, but it's a lovely stretch. So do a couple more in your own time if it's for you, or you come out of it and sit back on your heels. It's a wonderful stretch. So if you're stretching through the arms and your heels, you come up and you start to walk your feet forward into a forward bend. So I'm walking my feet forward, bend at the knees, and we stay in a forward bend. As you exhale, pull the abdomen back. You can keep the knees bent. You can slowly straighten the legs if you wish to get a stretch in the back of the knees. Relax the head. So you're not tucking the chin in firmly, you're relaxing the head. Keeps the neck loose. With each exhalation, pull the abdomen back. You can adjust the hands. When you feel you've had enough of this, you slowly unfurl. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Let everything trickle back naturally. So just stand tall. Imagine someone has a thread attached to the top of your scalp. They're gently pulling you up. Just let the body recalibrate. Let it breathe naturally. Become aware of any sensations, any tingling, any warmth, any discomfort. I hope not. Any feelings of joy? You feel the urge to smile? I do. Become aware of anything that's happening. Taking a few deep breaths. And then take a step back to the edge of your mat. So your heels, your feet are slightly more than hip width apart, and your heels are on the edge of your yoga mat. So you can guarantee they're in line. This is always a good indicator. We're going to do Trikonasana. So we've done this before, like maybe 5-6 weeks ago. So we're going to swivel on the right heel. And then we're just going to tip over to the right. So you can have the knee bent if you don't have the flexibility. It doesn't matter how far we tip over. We inhale as we stretch out our arms and we'll tip over to the right. You can place your hand on your thigh, on your knee, on your shin, or even down at the toe. But you must keep the body open. There's little point of going down further if you're closing the body forward. So something like this. Inhale, we're stretching out and then we're moving to the right. And then you're just tipping over to wherever feels comfortable. So of course you can go further down, but if you go further down and you have to come forward with the arm, that's no use. So just find the point that works for you comfortably with keeping the arm open. So it can be just at the knee, it can be further down, but we keep the torso open. Simple, simple Trikonasana. If you're struggling with your balance, you're trying to push the inside of the right knee, you're trying to put the inside of the knee in front of the outside, if that makes sense. As opposed to taking the knee and turning it in, you're turning it out. And you relax into it. Trikonasana. So again, you can have the knee bent, you can have the legs straight, but any position is good as long as you keep the torso open until the body adjusts. And then you build up the practice. When you're ready to come up, you inhale as you come up. Stretch through the arms. Soften down. And come back around with your right foot, your right heel. Then we swivel on the left heel. Check your position. Check that you're balanced before you start. The knees have a tendency to turn inwards, which makes you wobbly. So the inside of the knee has to be trying to overtake the outside. So you're opening up the joint. Inhale, and as we stretch out, lean forward, lean out, and tip over to wherever's comfortable. So I've kept this leg bent on this occasion. I can go further down, but I'm keeping the body open. And you relax into it. It's important you have the balance, it's important you have the confidence, and then with time, you'll be able to straighten the leg and go further down. And then with time, you'll be able to look up at the arm. But we won't do that today. So we inhale as we come up. Exhale down and swivel in the foot. Stay in this position. We're going to do warrior 1 and warrior 2. So we take the right foot and we turn it in a little. Turn it in towards the center of the body. Swivel round on the left. Sorry, swivel round on the right. We're turning to the right. Before you go into the position, check that you're comfortable here and the knee isn't way beyond the toes. So I need to move out a little. So the left foot is turned in 45 degrees. The right foot is turned round on the heel. We turn the torso right around. Check that you have the stance. And we raise our arms, warrior 1, and come forward. And this one as well, your right knee, you're trying to have the inside overtake the outside. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, soften. So again, this is strong for the core, for the thighs. So you build these ones up. This is just a short indication of what you're meant to be doing. Equally, on this position, you can do the namaste. This leg, the left leg, you have to keep straight. If you bend it, you'll lose your balance. Keep it straight and keep it outside of the left foot, firmly on the ground. This is your core. Inhale as we come out. We take the left foot and make it square. The right stays where it is, and now it's warrior 2. So in this one, we're keeping the hips facing forward, and we're raising the arms and looking over the right hand. So we're trying to keep this open. This is why we've moved the foot back around. Warrior 1, it was in, we take it back. Check your stance. I can adjust it. This stays like so. Body open, hips open, warrior 2. They're strong postures. But if you get the basics right with the balance and the stability, then the rest follows. Inhale as we come out. And we do warrior 1 and warrior 2 to the other side. So we swivel around on the left foot. We take the right one and turn it in 45, which allows us to turn the hips around. Check your stance. I can go out a bit wider. Careful if it's hot and sweaty. So we raise the arms, come forward into the position.
Some people like to lean back. I don't particularly like that. But you inhale if you want to try leaning back. Inhale, lift up with the arms, lean back. I don't like the pressure on the lower back. Soften into it. So these are very strong postures, which you have to build up with time. Inhale to come out. Lower down. Take the right foot and make it in line, parallel with the back of the mat. Because you're opening your hips back up for warrior two. Check this leg is strong. Check this leg is straight. This is your anchor. When we raise up the hands, you're looking directly over the fingers of the left hand. You're checking that this arm is not the way down like what it was with me. They're both up, both open. And you stretch into it. Inhale as you stretch through. And soften. Again, you can stay here for as many breaths as you wish, depending on your strength. Inhale as you come up. Nice and slow. There's a big crack there for my ankle, but because I was doing it slowly, it's okay. Exhale down. Swivel around. And always heel toe back to the beginning. Without looking, feel that your feet are parallel. That thread is back in the center of your head, gently pulling you upwards. Let peace begin with me. Let me begin with peace. Let the body breathe naturally. Let it simmer down a bit. Let peace begin with me. Let me begin with peace. And we're going to sit down. And again, we've done both of these postures before, preliminary plow. So we take our feet to our seat. If you have problems with your lower back and you want to protect it, then you place your fists just gently under the outside of your buttocks. And we're just going to straighten the legs and take them as far back as comfortable in this position, keeping them straight. This is as far as I can go. So I have to put my fists under my buttocks. And this is all we're looking for. We're not looking for this. We're not lifting the lower back and buttocks off the ground. We're keeping the legs as straight as you can. The preliminary plow, and we're just stretching the lower back muscles. And because I've damaged my back, various accidents, this is as far as I can go with this one. If I take my fists out from my buttocks and place my palms down the side, it's a lot more strenuous. So figure out what works best for you. Palms down the side or fists slightly under the buttocks. Keep the legs straight, and this is all we're looking for. And if you're comfortable in this position, then you can separate the feet. This is a weak spot for me because my legs are shaking. But because I've protected my lower back with fists, I can continue. Then we're going to go into the inverted position. So we are going to lift our bottom off the ground now. Our hands, we'll push through our hands, we'll lift our bottom up, and then we have support on our hips, elbows on the ground. And again, this is all we're looking for. Again, you can stop the video and have a look at this and then try it. We're not pressing the chin into the sternum. We're not lowering the legs. We're keeping it in this position. Just to get the body used to these inverted positions. You breathe slowly and deeply. To come out, you place the hands on the ground, palms down. That's your support. As you slowly lower the back down. End at the knees. Feet next to the seat. And usually when we do such a position, we try to put the body in an opposite position. So we're just going to lift the seat up. So we raise the arms first. Stretch them out the back. Inhale, stretch. And then we raise the seat up. So nothing aggressive. It's a lot of postures today. Inhale, stretch through the arms, lift up through the seat. If you're comfortable in this position, then you can move your heels a little bit closer if you're not getting a stretch through the thigh muscles, and then you will get a stretch through the thigh muscles. Inhale, stretch through, and relax. If you want a stronger stretch through the thigh muscles and a contraction of the gluteals, then you take the feet closer to the seat. You play about with it, and that's much stronger. As you can feel, you barely have to lift the seat for the thigh muscles to be stretched and the gluteals contracted. Inhale, stretch through. It's a very strong stretch and contraction. But very nice. When you want to come out, you inhale, stretch through the hands, lift up. And remember, you're always trying to get the hands to reach the ground at the same time as your buttocks. And then take the soles of the feet, place them together, and allow the knees to flop out to the side, your palms facing upwards. Soles of the feet together, knees flopping out to the side, palms facing upwards. And then back to your full yogic breath to get rid of the lactic acid from that strong contractions. And with each exhalation, you're softening and surrendering your body weight onto the ground, and you're releasing the muscles in the groin area. Totally surrender your body weight with the exhalation. Remember, Shavasana, the mind-body relaxer. You let go of the old to make space for the new. And smile. The universal language of love. Smile. And give yourself a big pat in the back. As you're lying there relaxing, I will read out the quote. So I'll start with the one I read at the beginning, which was, you get what you settle for. You get what you settle for. But I like this one. I haven't come this far to only come this far. I haven't come this far to only come this far. Thank you so much. Namaste with much love.